first episode of Armed with Arsenal. Forgive like how my hair kind of looks because I had the do rag on. So whenever you have Afro textured hair, it kind of takes the shape of whatever it is that you had on your head. So please, please don't focus on my hair too much. Last night I did a stream and there's people thinking, people had various different things to say about my hair. I'm not insecure. I love the texture of my hair. And, that's not the focal point of this video. So, we're going to get into what it is that we're trying to talk about right now. And please disregard all the sounds that you will be hearing outside. And then there's going to be people kind of working on the kitchen and working upstairs as well. So, you will be hearing some noise in the background. But yeah, I want to talk about Arsenal's upcoming season, the upcoming season for Arsenal. If you guys didn't know, I am a big Arsenal supporter. Asia, what's going on? Asia, this is actually a new stream, completely different. I'm sort of experimenting with some Premier League stuff, you know what I mean? This might not even be the stream that most people kind of know me for, the stuff that I usually talk about, because this is really about sports, right? And a team that I support over there in England. So this is completely different from what the channel is establishing. But you know what? Why not? Why not talk about the things that I do know, right? Or the things that I like as well, right? So yeah, initially when this channel started, I was going to do this channel kind of focusing on the team that I support, which is Arsenal FC. But we transitioned into something completely different, and it's cool either way because I really love the direction that the channel is going in. Last night we had 19 new subscribers. What's going on, Sunil? What's going on, buddy? Angie baby says good morning. How are you, Angie? Angie is one of our new subscribers. She started supporting the channel about last night. Sunil says congratulations for 19. I appreciate that, man. We had a really good stream last night. We had some trolls as well, but I don't really mind the trolling. You know what I mean? The trolling is, I don't mind it. But yeah, guys, as I was saying before, there will be people working upstairs. There's gonna be people working in the kitchen, so you might hear some noise in the background. You're gonna hear some noise from outside as well, so please disregard that. But yeah, he says trolls are important. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They are very important. So we're going to kind of go through the squad first of all, right? From goalkeeper all the way up to the forwards. And I'm going to tell you what my expectations are for each and every single player, right? At Arsenal FC. And then at the end, I'll give you guys what my prediction is. And I'll give you guys a few comments as well about Mikel Arteta and things like that. But number one, we're going to start with the goalkeepers, right? So Aaron Ramsdale, who, as everyone knows, used to be the number one goalkeeper for Arsenal FC, but he sort of had some concentration issues, and Mikel Arteta replaced him with a loanee from Brentford, which is David Raya, and he's been doing a phenomenal job. Kept the most clean sheets last season. And has the best defense in front of him, to be completely fair, with Saliba and Gabriel. But yeah, I expect Aaron Ramsdale to be shipped out, pretty soon. I don't see him wanting to sit on the bench for too long, but I think the ship's already sailed on who is going to be the starting goalkeeper for Arsenal FC. So, which brings me to David Raya, Spanish international, number 2 for Spain. Okay, cool. But he's definitely number 1 for Arsenal, and he is definitely one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League right now, regardless of what people say about him. And yes, he does have the best defense in front of him, but he also does a fantastic job. So yeah, I expect David Raya to start. I expect him to have another great season. And yeah, Karl Hein from Estonia, a young man that Arsenal just signed. right? Just signed him, and I don't really have much expectation for him. He may go on loan. He may get some. If he doesn't go on loan, he may play some League Cup matches, especially against the lower league teams. But I don't have too much expectation for Carl Hine just yet. He's not expected to be the starter as of yet. So yeah, that's Carl Hine. The defenders, right? William Saliba, the absolute rock of Arsenal. Him and Gabriel, that partnership that those guys have developed over the last 2 seasons, especially last season. William Saliba, man, probably the best. I wouldn't say probably. I would say he's the best young defender, the best defender under 25 in the entire world has to be William Saliba. I think he had a phenomenal Euros, right? He showcased what he was capable of in the Euros, and had the French been better in attack, we would probably talking about a final maybe between France and or was that possible? Or did Spain play France? But anyway, they would have done better had they had a better attack. But William Saliba, absolutely the defender of the tournament for me. And yeah, definitely the best defender under the age of 25 for sure. Karen Tierney, what can I say? Karen Tierney, I expect Karen Tierney to be on loan somewhere else. When you look at the squad, he's not even rocking the new jersey, right? He's rocking the jersey from last year. So I don't expect Karen Tierney to feature much for Arsenal this season. I think, with the acquisitions of Calafiori, right? You have Timber, who could also play left back. You have Zinchenko, who could also play left back. You have Kirior, who could also play left back. So, and then Karen Tierney is probably the most injury-prone defender at Arsenal. Although we do have a few injury-prone defenders at Arsenal. But knock on wood, hopefully he does recover and does some big things for some big teams. Karen Tierney definitely is a very talented footballer. But, injuries, him maybe not necessarily being the right fit for an Arteta team. And I do expect either a loan or a sale for Karen Tierney. Ben White, my guy Ben White. Ben White, I love that guy's personality. I think he just has, he's just a tunnel vision guy, you know what I mean? He's about playing football. He doesn't even really watch it as much, right? But he's about playing, and, he stands firm. Like, as a man, he has a backbone, and I could really respect that about Ben White. He's not a pushover. He doesn't have a soft personality. He has the character that it takes that makes up for some of the athleticism that he might not have, and he also has the wisdom as well. But I'm a big fan of Ben White. I think Ben White is a phenomenal right back, definitely one of the best in the league, especially in defending. He did get caught out a few times last season, but he definitely is one of the best. Especially getting forward, he's great, good to great, and defending, he's pretty good as well. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Ben White. So I expect a great season from Ben White again, with him and him overlapping on the right hand side with Saka, and yeah. Now Gabriel. This is my guy right here, man. Gabriel. Big up to Gabriel, man. I thought Gabriel was definitely one of the standout performers last season. Was he our highest scoring defender? I believe he was or was it Ben White? It was between him and Ben White, the highest scoring defenders last season. I think Ben White, if I'm not mistaken, had 2 in one game, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. But, yeah, Gabriel. I think Gabriel is a phenomenal defender. What can I say? The partnership between him and Saliba, the best in the world. In my estimation, especially in recent times, I think that defensive partnership, they let in the least goals in the Premier League last season. They also kept the most clean sheets in the Premier League last season. And they scored some goals as well. And much like the what was it, the preseason match, the Emirates Cup, when they played Lyon, and both of them scored. Right, those were the only two scorers from some set pieces, which Arsenal have become phenomenal for taking these set pieces in recent times. The best in the league at set pieces, Arsenal AFC. Urian Timber. Urian Timber. What can I say about Urian Timber? Urian Timber, man. Really like that guy. I really like Urian Timber. I think he had a phenomenal preseason last season. I think he had a decent preseason, at least I'm hearing, because I actually did subscribe to the preseason. I paid my 10.99 euros or something, whatever it was. But because I'm not living in England, you gotta like download like a VPN and change like your IP address and all of that sort of stuff that I didn't really want to get into. So I didn't bother really watching the preseason, but I did watch some live streams of people talking about Urian Timber, and he supposedly had a great preseason up until the injury. I think he's another guy we have to slowly integrate or slowly kind of just ease him into the team. I don't think we need so many games from him right now, especially when we have so much cover in his position or in the positions that he does play. Again, he may be slotting in at left back, but we also have Calafiori and Kirior and Zinchenko who could play in that position, with Tomiyasu also being injured. He's going to take a few more weeks to heal, but Timber should be back training this week to next week. He should be back training. Jakub Kivior. A lot of a mixed bag, right? He had some decent performances, had some really bad performances, but Jakub Kivior definitely has a lot of potential. And I think he can excel under Arteta, but the limit is, pretty much the bar is pretty much what he sets for himself and how hard he's willing to work, because he does have some things that he does need to improve on. But I think he's a decent player. Alexander Zinchenko. Zinny. What can I say about Zinny? So defensively, Zinny has a lot that he could work on, right? I think when teams are attacking Arsenal, and if they're attacking on the flank, I think if you're looking for a weak link, you're probably looking at Zinchenko. And I don't want to single him out or I see a lot of people ganging up on him. He does a lot of great work going forward, right? But as a defender, even though he is playing on the flanks, you expect more from him defensively. He's capable of doing a whole lot more defensively. But I do think, again, I think he's a phenomenal player going forward. I do think he has a role that he can play in the team. But I do think a lot of fans, he's one of the people that a lot of the fans are thinking, man, get this guy out of here. But I'm not in that sort of group, right? I think Zinchenko has a lot to offer. I think he's a really good player going forward, really attacking, especially when he kind of just inverts and cuts into the midfield, and you add another midfielder to the attack. I think Zinchenko plays that role very well. So I do expect Zinchenko to start a decent amount of games this season. Maybe a handful, probably like 10, 12 games, maybe 10 to 15 games. But yeah, Zinchenko definitely has a role to play for me. So Takehiro Tomiyasu, what can I say? Decent defender, decent out on the flanks. Gets injured quite a bit, right? He gets injured quite a bit, but I think in due time, hopefully, I'm hopeful on Takehiro Tomiyasu. I hope that he does get over these injuries, and he can just become one of those foundation players for Arsenal. But time will tell. I don't expect too much from Tomiyasu. I do expect him to come in as a sub, whether on the right, as a right back or a left back, because he could play both. But yeah, not entirely too sold on Tomiyasu, to be honest with you. Now, Ricardo Calafiori. Had some people kind of picking on him, calling him cauliflower. But listen, he's our player. He's our guy now. Didn't know much about him before we bought him. I actually had a conversation. I say bought him, right? But bought his contract. I don't really like the term bought him, right? But before he came over and started playing for Arsenal, he he supposedly had a great Euro, but I didn't watch the Italian team in the Euro. I don't think I watched one Italian game, to be honest with you. So I didn't really see him play prior to coming to Arsenal, but I did see some of his highlights during the summer. I do see that he's a really good player. I do see that he can strike the ball, much like Urian Timber. And, he kind of has that aura of a great defender, right? Sort of looks like, a Maldini or something like that. Probably because he's Italian. A lot of people are comparing him to Maldini. But that's a big comparison because Maldini is considered by a lot of people to be the best defender of all time. So I don't want to paint him with that brush, but the limit is beyond the skies for Calafiori. If he is if he's what all the hype has kind of cracked him out to be. Let's go to the midfielders now. To the midfielders. We're going to start with Ghana's own Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey. Been quite injured over the last few seasons. Sort of, a lot of people would consider him to be very injury prone, right? He says not. Someone says he's no Maldini. That's a criminal opinion. I'm not. I'm just saying what other people are thinking. I didn't say I think he's Maldini. I haven't seen him play yet, to be honest with you. So I'm not saying he's Maldini. Maldini's considered by most to be the best defender of all time. So yeah, but there are a lot of people that are comparing him to Maldini, and that's a lot. That's fan hype. So we will see. Time will tell. Maybe he could carve out his own path. But yeah, let's get back to Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey's been quite injured over the last few seasons. Thomas Partey is a phenomenal midfielder. Thomas Partey is a great passer. He can defend well. He can get forward and attack. He can strike the ball decently. He's a very astute, very smart, defender, midfielder as well. Thomas Partey, the limit is beyond the skies for him, but he just gets injured quite often. And hopefully this season he can have an injury-free season because he still has a lot to offer. He could slot in at any time. He could start. He could come off the bench. Whatever it is that we need to maintain or sustain him throughout the rest of the season. I look forward to seeing Thomas Partey, contribute a lot to Arsenal. I still think he's lost the yard of pace, right? He's not as quick as he once was, but I still think he has a whole lot to offer. So Thomas Partey, yeah, fingers crossed he can stay healthy. He stays healthy, Arsenal have a phenomenal chance of winning the league. Martin Odegaard, the captain, right? El Capitan. A great midfielder. I think he's a great midfielder. Once played for Real Madrid, right? You're not going to be a busty coming out of Real Madrid. He works hard. He works very hard, tirelessly, right? Attacking and defending. I think Martin Odegaard, along with Thomas Partey, but Martin Odegaard is definitely a world-class box-to-box midfielder. He could play attacking midfielder. He could play box-to-box. He presses. There's not much that he can't do as a midfielder. So, yeah, I'm a big Martin Odegaard fan. When he's on it, He's one of the best. Sometimes he can start a season slowly, but yeah, when he's on it, man, he's definitely one of the best around. Let's go to Jorginho. Jorginho. What are my expectations for Jorginho? I think Jorginho surprised a lot of people when he came from Chelsea initially, and the things that he's done in the Arsenal jersey, right? He's already, to me, a better player, especially in his last few seasons. He's been better for Arsenal than he has been for Chelsea, especially in his last few seasons. I think he was scapegoated a lot, but the foundation at Chelsea just wasn't there. You know, to be completely honest with you, that club over there is built on oil money, right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, right? But they kind of buy their success. But Jorginho is a very smart. He's probably the smartest midfielder that we do have. Jorginho tactically, because he doesn't have any pace at all, right? But tactically, you know how he kind of he reads the game. He kind of slots in and he reads the game very well. And he's a very, 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 very good passer. Very good passer. I'm a big Jorginho fan. I really like Jorginho. I like what he's done since he's come to Arsenal. I think he surpassed everyone's expectation, and I salute Jorginho for that. I expect him to have another great season this year. He could start maybe the majority of the games. It might be him over Thomas Partey because of Thomas Partey's injury record. But either one, I'm happy with either one starting, to be completely honest with you. But the thing is with Jorginho, I think he might be a little bit older than Thomas Partey. And pretty soon we need to be either promoting some youth or going into the market and buying some I keep using that term, buying some contracts, right? Which maybe Mourinho is probably what they have in mind when they're purchasing, but Mourinho is not confirmed yet, so we're not going to speak too much about him. Fabio Vieira of Portugal. Fabio Vieira, decent player, doesn't get a lot of opportunity. This season may be his final season to really prove what he's worth and to break into that Arsenal team, but it's like, where is he going to play consistently? He can play on the flank occasionally. He can play in midfield, but you know, he's not gonna move Odegaard out of the midfield. But we do need to see a little bit more of Fabio Vieira this season, to be completely honest with you, because he does have something to offer. So Arteta should look into that. Kai Havertz, who's a midfielder, might I add, but he can play in the 9. I guess I want to say he's a false 9, but really not really. You know, he pretty much plays in the attacking midfield, or he plays up there in the 9. But so Kai Havertz was one of those players that I really defended a whole lot, right? Because he's a German international, right? He starts for Germany. He's no scrub. Right, he scored for Chelsea that last time that they won the Champions League. I believe it was him that actually scored the winning goal. So Kai Havertz is no scrub, right? Kai Havertz is no scrub. He's one of those players. He's humble to me. I see him as a very humble player. I don't think he was given a fair shake when he first came to Arsenal, and I found myself defending the guy a lot because I do think that he has a lot to offer. Yeah, I think he's a really, really good player. And Berbatov came and said, this is the player that I believe is most like me. And I just think he's calm. I mean, all the players could do with a little bit more composure. But I do think that he's a calm player. I think he's a really, really good player. And I actually really, really like Kai Havertz. Would he be my starting number 9? He wouldn't be my starting number 9. I would start him for some games, but I don't think maybe starting as a number 9, probably somewhere in midfield. You know what I mean? And if I don't have any options, then yeah, he's really a great option to really put up top, to be completely honest with you. I think he could do most things as a footballer. Which brings us to Declan Rice. Declan Rice, phenomenal debut season for Arsenal last season. Phenomenal player. Usually the English people, they kind of hype their players up a lot. Declan Rice is not one of those guys that's all hype, right? Declan Rice really, really gets it in out there. Um, he could play box to box, right? Which is what he played a lot of last season. He could sit in the sixth position. Um, he's synonymous with those set pieces now, right? He's getting a lot of assists through his set pieces now, so he's becoming a more technical player, a better passer, and as time progresses, I do expect Declan Rice to even get even better than we thought he was last season. I think this season he's just a professional. You know what I mean? I think that kid the limits beyond the sky. We are lucky to have Declan Rice as an Arsenal player. We beat City to signing him. So hopefully this season, Declan Rice, not hopefully, I know he's going to have a great season this season. He's one of those guys that I do expect a lot of big things for. And hopefully he just stays injury free, because that guy, he's also another one that works tirelessly. You see him, he's everywhere. He always puts in a great performances, minimum 7 out of 10 every single game. Big up to Declan Rice. Big things for him this season. Yeah. Forwards. Let's get into the forwards now, right? So these are the forwards that we can confirm that are still at the team, right? So Eddie Nketiah. Let's start with Eddie Nketiah and kind of just get him out of the way. I do think Arsenal fans can be a little harsh when it comes to Eddie Nketiah in criticizing the kid. Hail end boy. I do think he did play for Chelsea at one point in their academy, and then he came over to the Arsenal academy. But Eddie Nketiah is, I think he's a better player than a lot of people give him credit for. I don't think he has much opportunity. He gets much opportunity in the team. I think when he does start some games, he can be a decent striker. However, if you're not getting a run of games, you may or may not be able to seize the opportunity that's given to you. And this is not me making any excuses for Eddie Nketiah. I do think that his time at Arsenal, just for the simple fact that the fans don't appreciate him much, I think he should probably go somewhere where he's more appreciated. Yeah, but yeah, he's not as bad as a lot of people make him out to be. As a player, I don't think he's the best, right? But, big shout outs to Eddie Nketiah. Hopefully he finds a good team to play for this summer into the next season. I think the last I heard he was going to loan to Marseille or something like that. But we'll see how that comes out. Reece Nelson, another player that is underappreciated at Arsenal. I think Reece Nelson is a decent player. I think Reece Nelson, again, he's another player that he's better than a lot of people make him out to be. He's another player that's really, really good. I think what was that game that he had, the game winner 2 seasons ago, where we all thought this was going to be what was going to galvanize the team toward winning the league. I forgot what team he scored that goal against, but that was a phenomenal goal, and that shows, especially at such a crunch time, that he was able to deliver. I think with some more consistency, Reece Nelson could break through in an Arsenal team. However, he may be another player that, he may move on this summer, but we'll see. Star boy, Bukayo Saka. What more can you say about Bukayo Saka? Another very underappreciated player. He was our top scorer last season. I believe he had the most assists too, if I'm not mistaken. But if not, he definitely was number 1 or number 2 when it came to assists. But Bukayo Saka, always contributes, right? Whether it be goals or assists. He's always getting kicked, right? So a lot of people kind of talk about him limping, but I mean, if you're getting kicked the whole game, of course you're going to be limping. You know what I mean? But Bukayo Saka, definitely one of the best wingers in the world. For sure, does still have a lot of potential. He's still young. He's still only 22, something like that. 22, 23 maybe, right? So Bukayo Saka, I do expect a great season because he set the bar so high. You know what I mean? Especially the last 3 seasons. With the season before that, him and Emil Smith Rowe kind of starring for Arsenal, but especially the last 2 seasons, like he's just been, our top contributor when it comes to goals and assists. And if he starts the season well, right, with cutting in off that right hand side and cracking the ball with that left foot, I don't think there's as much a lot of people could do. And those deliveries from set pieces again, and also the deliveries from the wing, the way he crosses the ball in. I think Bukayo Saka is a phenomenal player, still has a lot to prove, and hopefully he has a phenomenal season because he is one of the key players at Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus. I remember when I first saw Gabriel Jesus. It was, I believe, at the Olympics. I don't remember what year it was. And I don't remember if Brazil even won that Olympics that year. I do remember him crying, so I don't think that they did win. And this is not me throwing any shade at him. But Gabriel Jesus is he's a very technical forward. Very good with the ball at his feet. A lot of people make fun of him saying that he's not a good finisher, or saying that he went into the newspaper and said that he's not a good finisher as a forward. But I think a lot of things could be lost in translation, especially when you're sort of translating things from Portuguese, which he's Brazilian, they speak Portuguese, to English, right? And they probably have a Brazilian dialect, which makes it very difficult for people to really translate things. So when people were saying, oh, he's saying that he's not a great finisher, I don't think he really said that per se. I think he might have said finishing is not his best attribute. I think that may be what he was saying. But a lot of people kind of took that and ran with it. But yeah, I do think Gabriel Jesus has a lot to offer. He can play on the right. He can be backup for Saka. We may need a number 9 that doesn't have the injury record of Gabriel Jesus. I really like him as a football player. I think he lost a few steps because of those injuries, but Gabriel Jesus is still a phenomenal player, still has a lot that he can contribute to Arsenal. It does get frustrating at times, but the limit's beyond the sky for that guy. And just a few more to get through, right? We're going to talk about 2 more players. One of these players, a little bit underwhelming last season, and the other one did precisely what I expected him to do. Let's start with Gabby Martinelli. Gabby Martinelli, which was one of those guys that I would hype up, thought he had a great season the year before, right? Had a breakthrough season, and last season we expected a lot more from Gabriel Martinelli. I don't know what's happened to him in the final third. I think his decision making has kind of taken a turn for the worse. I don't know what that's all down to. But maybe he kind of needs to just gain a little bit more composure. Once he gets a little bit more composure, he gets out of his head, he starts making the right decision. I think that there's a great player in there. But that's definitely something that he has to work on. There's nothing that we could do about that. We're only fans on the sideline watching. But yeah, we're rooting for Gabriel Martinelli, but I think this season he has to really prove and get his starting position back as a young forward playing over there on that wing. He has a lot to do this season, a lot to prove this season. And I think he can do it. But yeah, I'm expecting Gabriel Martinelli to have a better season this season than he did last season. So yeah, that's that. And finally, we get to Leandro Trossard. Man, Trossard had a phenomenal season last year. He did everything that I expected him to do. I think he's a really good finisher. I think he's a very smart player. I think what he lacks in pace, he makes up for in how smart he is. And I'm a big fan of Leandro Trossard. I think Leandro Trossard can also play up top. He can play on the wing. And man, that's definitely one of my favorite players for Arsenal, Leandro Trossard. So I do expect a big season for him this year. I think the limit's beyond the skies for him. Even though he's probably, if he's not 30 yet, he's approaching 30 or maybe 31 or something like that. So he's one of the senior players, but he's just experienced. You know what I mean? And yeah, he definitely knows what he's doing out there. So I do expect a big season for Leandro Trossard. And yeah, you know, those are my expectations for those players. But before we go further, let me go ahead and check out what some of you guys have been saying in the chat. Man, I'm looking forward to this. Somebody says, name a car for an edit. I've heard that question a number of times. I'm going to go, this time I'm going to go with Ferrari Spider. Ellie says, hey, I like your hair. Thank you so much, Ellie. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone. If you're new to the channel, please, and enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. This is Asia, our moderator. She is such a gem, and we are so lucky to have her as a part of the team. He says, Owen Rooney says, who do you support? Arsenal FC, man. Arsenal FC. I'm an Arsenal FC fan. Been so for a very, very long time. And my uncle is actually the one that got me to support Arsenal, because he kept talking about Thierry Henry. And then back then when I was a teenager, I played a lot of FIFA and stuff like that. It's not necessarily the first club that I supported, but I don't know, I just love that club. But I didn't really have a club that I supported. Before that, I just had players that I liked, like Ronaldinho and you know, Zidane and you know people like that. Ronaldo, you know, Roberto Carlos, right? Like I just had players that I supported, but then kinda was supporting Ronaldinho's team, but because Ronaldinho was on the team, to be honest with you. But yeah, Arsenal FC is who I support. Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go. Yeah. Whatever. I don't know about that. That ain't. We ain't been getting battered by anybody in recent seasons. So yeah, you're wrong, Owen. Owen says he's no Maldini at all. Come on, that's a criminal opinion. I didn't say me, Owen. I didn't say me, but a lot of people are saying that. Ellie, welcome back. To be honest, bro, I've watched him. I don't rate him at all. Are you talking about... Who are you talking about? Calafiori? You don't rate Calafiori? I haven't watched him, so I don't know what to say about that. But if Mikel Arteta buys him, if Mikel Arteta has a track record of buying a lot of players that people may not have thought was good, and then integrating them into the team, and then them becoming great to world-class players. So I have faith in Mikel Arteta. I think Mikel Arteta is going to have Calafiori doing a lot of big things for the Arsenal Football Club. So stay tuned, Owen Rooney. And if you're still around, trust me when I tell you, I love the banter, but be able to take it back, because I'm going to come back on this channel and I'm going to roast anybody who underestimated Calafiori. And if he slots in and he locks down whoever it is that you have on your team, whether he plays on the flanks or whether he plays right back, left back, or in the middle back there, right? So let's see about that. He says Odegaard, world class. I agree with you with that, and I support Liverpool. Big up to Liverpool. I think Liverpool's a really, that's the other team in the Premier League that I actually do respect, right? I think Liverpool does things the right way, for the most part. I think they are, like Arsenal, are not fueled by oil money, right? Not to say oil money is necessarily bad, but you know, yeah, I think Liverpool kind of does things right. I think Jurgen Klopp was a phenomenal coach, but I mean, you guys are in a rebuild this season, so let's see how Liverpool does. He says no, he hasn't. Come on, he won a Champions League as a player of the tournament, bro, and was the player of the tournament. I think he might be talking about Kai Havertz, if I'm not mistaken. Rick Sanchez says Trump 24. Big up yourself, Rick Sanchez. Owen Rooney says F Chelsea. I agree. I'm getting ignored here. Take care, guys. Trump 24, this dude speaks himself and doesn't answer his comments. This is why we won't ever get a lot of views. Well, we'll see about that. But yeah, it's one of those things, guys. So sometimes when you do see me kind of talking, these days I want to get through what it is that I'm saying first and then get back to some of the comments that are coming in. So that's what that is. Gaming Glock says, doing doink. Ellie says, I'm back. What do you think of Manchester City, bro? Okay, that's a question we could get into. Thank you so much. That's a phenomenal question. What do I think of Manchester City? Manchester City. Well, I don't quite remember what year it was. It might have been 2007 or 2008, maybe 2006. I don't remember. I was a teenager at the time, right? And I remember Manchester City buying players like Robinho, who was probably one of the best dribblers in the world at the time. Played for Real Madrid. Started falling out of favor with that team. Probably was approaching his, not his peak, but he was probably on his decline at that point. Players like Benjani. I don't know if you guys remember Benjani. Joe from Brazil. Remember they had an influx of money, right? And they were kind of emulating or copying what Roman Abramovich did over there at Chelsea. Started buying players from Arsenal, right? The Adebayors, the Samir Nasri, the Ellie asked, can she be a mod? Well, Ellie, we're gonna ask Asia, right? We're gonna talk to Asia because Asia is doing a phenomenal job. So once we talk to Asia, and if Asia approves that you can be a mod, then we will make you a mod, right? But yeah, let's see what Asia thinks about that. So yeah, they bought Samir Nasri, Emmanuel Adebayor, Gael Clichy, Torre went over there. Colo Torre went over there at one point. Who else? Bakary Sagna eventually went over there as well, right? So they started buying up some of our best players from all over the pitch. Forward, midfield, defense, right? And they started building a foundation that became quite scary. They started getting very experienced players and started buying the best players in the world. And over time, they started to become, you started to see where they were really competing with the Manchester Uniteds and the Arsenals and the Liverpools, right? To be one of the best clubs and the Chelseas, to being one of the best clubs in England. Now, how they did it and how they did it in such a short period of time, right? There's a lot of question marks over there, right? A lot of people that bring up the charges that they have. 115 charges, right? Because of the way that they allegedly do business. What do I think about Manchester City? I think Manchester City, if I'm being completely honest, I think it's a very scary club, right? If you're not a Manchester City supporter, I think I think as far as the ceiling goes, they may have the highest ceiling because of the people that they have backing them. And sure, Newcastle's owners may be on paper richer. I don't really know, right? I can go off of what I've seen, and I see how Manchester City does business, and I see how they not only own Manchester City, they own New York FC, they own other clubs around the world, and yeah, man, just a very scary club, man. Scary hours for everyone else that's in the league. They have a stronghold on the league, and hopefully this season we can break that stronghold and we don't have Manchester City at the top anymore. Because, yeah, they could attract the best players in the world. They have quite possibly the best manager in the world. He might just be the best manager in the world. And, certainly have one of the best teams. Although Arsenal beat them twice last season. Community Shield and at home. right? And drew at Manchester City. But yeah, they always seem to get it over the line. And that's attributed to Pep Guardiola's brilliance and the brilliant players that they have as well. So they have a lot of really brilliant players, and Pep Guardiola knows what it takes to build a winning team. He knows the tactics that it takes to make a team gel together. He doesn't need any star player. Well, not to say any star player. Like, you need your star players. You need great players. But he doesn't need to keep hold of them. If they decide they want to leave, then they leave. He allows them to go if they want to leave. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Manchester City, and it's going to take some doing to knock them off of their to knock them off the throne. But they are the best club in England right now. Some may say the best club in the world. I would say maybe Real Madrid's the best club in the world, but especially now that Real Madrid has Mbappe, right? Jude Bellingham, right? Vinny Jr., right? Enrichsen, or whatever that kid's name is. Endrick, I'm sorry. Right? And all the other players that they have. I think Real Madrid definitely has the best squad in the world for sure. Yeah, Real Madrid is probably still the best team. I ain't donating ish if you don't add a donate button. We're not eligible for donation buttons as of yet, I don't believe. I think you definitely have to get at least 500 subscribers and a total of 3,000 watch hours. You know, but once I start streaming a lot, right, we're going to be streaming a lot, then we can do those things, and we can use whatever the donations are to make this a better channel for everyone. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. But yeah, I actually turned this thing into an LLC, right? So I actually started an LLC, did mostly everything else that I'm supposed to do, other than like kind of publishing it in the newspapers. I think that's the last thing that we're going to do. I'll probably wait until we start bringing in revenue to actually do that part. Because yeah, I didn't really handle everything myself. So the people that did handle it, yeah, they kind of get a cut as well. So you know how that goes already. Ha. Koro Mativa says, do you think they will be caught guilty? Oh, that is a brilliant question, sir. Or miss. Not entirely sure. But do I think so? Well, I think, number one, right? I think the Premier League has known about this for a very long time. But I think money, a lot of times, kind of sways people's vision. I don't think the Premier League in England want to have a bad relationship with the country or the people that run Manchester City. So I think this is why it took so long. Plus the fact that they have some of the best lawyers and they have a lot of money. It's not something that they necessarily are pursuing as harshly as they should be pursuing. Because we've seen what happened with Everton. We've seen what happened with Chelsea. Right? Everton was actually deducted points. And I'm sure they didn't do anything as bad as City are accused of doing. I can't confirm that City has done this or they haven't done this. I don't see their books. As a fan, how I feel about it is how I feel about it because I don't support Manchester City. I support Arsenal Football Club. So as a fan, I kind of look at it from that perspective. Yeah, you don't want to see other clubs, especially the club that's been dominating for so long, to continue to dominate as a fan, right? That's how you look at it. But if you're looking at it objectively, you don't really know, right? That's not something where it's like, I don't really know. I can only go off of what I think is going to happen. But I think the Premier League should, if they want to, I think the Premier League should reach a decision very soon. If they don't want to be seen as a joke, to be completely honest with you, based on the way that they're handling the situation. And based on the way they handle other teams that don't have as much money and don't have as much clout. Will they be found guilty? I don't know. I don't know. And I'm saying I don't know because I haven't seen the evidence. I only go by what I hear. And they have a lot of money. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of resources. They know a lot of people in high places. They can hire the best lawyers. Yeah. So I don't know if they're going to be found guilty or not. I think if they're not found guilty, I think a lot of people will have a lot to say about that. I think if they are found guilty, it may kind of start to sour the relationship between City's owners and the Premier League. And I don't think the Premier League really wants that. I don't think England wants that. I think Manchester City, the idea of Manchester City and the money that they have, I think those things are good for England, are good for the Premier League. So yeah, I don't expect them to be pursuing it too tough. And I don't expect for them to get relegated if they are found guilty. I do not expect that. That'll be one of the Premier League's biggest attractions right now, especially the fact that they're winning so much and the fact that they're doing so much in the Champions League. Yeah, I think the Premier League is probably looking at it like, yeah, we can't relegate this team. But if they do, because Juventus has been relegated before. But if they do, I don't know. That would probably surprise me, to be honest with you, because of how long they took to reach a conclusion. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. Anyway, guys, I'll take a few more questions if you guys do have it. I will be answering more questions as I speak. I'll probably do that a little bit more. I do that with my other streams where I kind of just answer questions as they pop up. But this one, I kind of wanted to get certain things off my chest. I do think Arsenal is going to have a phenomenal season. I think Arsenal is going to win the Premier League this season. I believe Arsenal FC will win the Premier League this season, along with another trophy, whether it be the League Cup or the Champions League, right? The Champions League or the FA Cup. I do expect really big things from Arsenal FC this season. And yeah, guys. So, be on the lookout for that. Anyway, this has been about, 50 some odd minutes of me talking about my club. Arash says hi. How you doing, Arash? And talking about football. So, I do have a big day ahead of me. So, I will be back later on at 11:30 tonight to do the Live is But a Stream podcast. So, guys, stay tuned for that and have a phenomenal, phenomenal day. Let's go, Arsenal. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.